Hello there. Thanks for watching this video. I'm making this video because I'm starting a new project and I would love to have your help. I'm calling my project the Restorative Dyad project. What I'm wanting to do with this project is create a space using restorative questions and dyad inquiry for people to explore, gain insight, and find healing around incidences that involve some sort of power over situation. What I'm looking for is people who are willing to share an experience where they experience some sort of discomfort, confusion, frustration, anger, and basically maybe a sense of powerlessness in a situation that involved another person who had a perceived sense of power over them, perceived or actual sense of power over them. And what I'm going to ask you to do is participate in a dyad conversation using restorative questions with a partner who has also had a situation that they're going to be sharing. And the point of the process is for you to gain some insight into how the situation affected you, gain some insight into the whole dynamic of power over situations, and then hopefully have some healing around the situation and some ideas for how to move forward. So the reason this is important to me is I'm seeing the violence in our country, and I'm becoming more and more aware of the marginalization that has been happening for centuries, for thousands of years actually, under a system of power over. And I'm just wanting to do my little bit in holding conversations about how these situations and how these systems of power over affect our lives and affect our relationships and affect our communities. And really hoping that by having these conversations, we can have some healing and gain some freedom for creating new ways of relating to each other, new systems for our communities to live in and hopefully thrive in. So that's why this matters to me. And if you're interested in participating, what I'd like you to do is just private message me or put your name in the comments below, and then I'll send you a really short little questionnaire which will ask you to just give me a little explanation of the situation that you're thinking of using, and also ask you who you'd like to be partnered up with, and that's about it. I'll also explain a little bit more the process. And once I get that, I will partner you up with somebody, and then we'll find a time for a Zoom meeting. And you and me and the other person will be in the meeting, and I'll be guiding the two of you through this dyad process using restorative questions. So I'm going to be a part of the process. I'm going to be holding the space for the whole time. And it'll be you and your partner, though, who will be really doing the work together, supporting each other, witnessing each other, and really connecting and being there for each other. So I'm really excited to see how this goes and what comes of this. So yeah, just be great. If you have any questions, just post them in the comments below so that other people can see the answers to the questions, because they probably have similar questions. And if you're interested in participating, just message me or put your name below. and I really look forward to talking to you. So, now I'm just going to give you a little example of the kind of situation that I'm talking about. This is very specific for me, and actually, your situation doesn't have to be really anything like this situation in details, but more just kind of in feeling and in relation to the kind of the power structures that came to play in the relationship and the kind of cultural messages that I at least was perceiving. So, this is a situation where I was at a festival, a very small festival with some close friends. And at this festival, there was a man who approached me, a white man who approached me, and he was somebody who I knew was had close relations with the owner of the venue, and also with his friend that I was with. So immediately in my mind, I had this idea that it was important that I make a good impression, or at least that I'd be friendly to this person. And I mean, I would be friendly anyways because that's just who I am. But yeah, now it kind of had a little bit more weight on it because I immediately perceived that there could be repercussions for my friend if I wasn't. So anyway, this man was drunk, and he came right up to me and got really close to me and proceeded to just pretty much hang on me. And he was touching me. I felt pretty uncomfortable. I didn't have a lot of space. I wasn't able to really get away. I was kind of in a confined space, so I was stuck where I was. I eventually did make an excuse to get away, and he followed me, grabbed my arm, and proceeded to lead me around, and finally got away from that. And later he was back, and again grabbing me, touching me, trying to get trying to get me to dance, and just no matter what I said, no matter how many times I said no, he just kept pursuing, and really wasn't going away. So I said no over and over and over again, and I finally pulled my hand away, and I pushed him away from me as friendly as I could, and he left. And I spent the rest of the little festival looking out for him. I was uncomfortable the whole time. I hid for part of the time, and yeah, I had to get up and leave. A lot of times, there were a couple times where I saw him coming my way, and so I got up and I had to leave and hide. And I didn't ever really tell him, you know, I'm uncomfortable with this. I don't like you touching me. Stop touching me. Leave me alone. I didn't give him any of those clear messages. I continued to try and be friendly, even though there was that one time I kind of pushed him away. But yeah, so that's my story. And after this, I just kind of thought about it, because in some ways, it wasn't really a big deal at all. That was my initial reaction, even though it really was bothering me in the moment. But as I thought about it, I thought, geez, why is it that I don't think this is a big deal? I mean, it kind of was a big deal. It affected my whole time. It affected the time I was spending with my friends. I wasn't able to relax. I wasn't able to really hang out with them because I kept having to leave and hide. And yeah, and so, and why do I think it's not a big deal? Well, because it's happened so many times to me. Not for a long time, but it has happened to the point where there have been times where I've thought, yeah, I don't really, as a woman, I don't really want to go into that situation alone. I need to make sure I have a man at my side. Yeah, so So I thought about why. Why did I not speak up? Why didn't I say anything to him? And I realized that the reason I didn't was because I had this perception that if I had, I wouldn't have had the support of the people around me. I mean, I definitely would have had support of my friends, but they could have paid consequences that for me speaking up to the job or um, other consequences that I want to go into. But so what I'm not sure of is that I would have had the support of anybody else at this festival. And why? Why is it that I don't think that I would have had that support? I think it's because I'm not aware of a cultural agreement um, that men should, that when a woman says no, a man should leave, and that if a man doesn't leave her alone, that everybody else is going to stand up for the woman and tell him to leave her alone. It's pretty simple, and I know that there's people who talk about that, and then I also hear a lot of people saying, kind of that maybe it's for the woman, or I don't know, there's mixed messages. Whatever the consequence or whatever the reality of the situation, I know that in my mind and in my heart, I don't have the confidence that that cultural agreement exists, and that if I spoke up in a situation like this, that there wouldn't be negative consequences to me and to my friends, and that other people would actually support me rather than judge me and tell me to, that it's not a big deal, or why don't you just go somewhere else, or what were you doing, or well, he's drunk, so, go easy on him, or whatever it is. So that was my situation. And yeah, I just want to acknowledge that I am a white woman from middle class, upper middle class background. I'm pretty privileged. I'm educated, college education. I've always been pretty safe in my life. So I've had a lot of privilege, and my experience of marginalization, or this kind of power over dynamic where I don't feel comfortable speaking up for myself and expressing myself, is pretty minimal. But it does happen. It has happened to me, and I'm expecting it's happened to everyone. And it's just the systems that we live in. We all live in the system of power over, where the only way to ensure your safety is to get power over other people, or one of the big ways to assure your safety is to get power over other people. And yeah, and I'm just recognizing, and I really want to acknowledge that my situation's pretty small and minimal, and that there's people out there, um, because of their perceived race, their labeled race, their religion, their socioeconomic background, their education, their nationality, that are so marginalized that these kind of situations, and situations much, much more damaging than this, happen to them on a daily basis, and maybe, on an hourly basis at times. So, if you're still with me, hi. And that's that's kind of where I'm going with this. Is why it matters, is because I believe things can change, but I don't think that they can change unless we really start talking honestly about all of this, until we start sharing with each other how even these little incidences affect our lives, and the implications that these little things have to the larger structures that we live in. And I really believe that once we start talking about these things, start healing from our own experiences, that we can start to, well, I mean, I think we're already coming together, but even more, this kind of process is really important for us to move forward in a move forward with a paradigm that's more about supporting the full expression of all and using power to create safe space for all people to live. So there's my story. There's my request. If you're still with me and you want to participate, I'd really love to hear from you. And I'd love to hear your questions. Any work that we do will be kept confidential. It can be done using Zoom. Sun's changing. Let's see. Here. It can be done using Zoom video or just audio. It can be recorded or not. That will all be determined based on what you're needing to feel comfortable and to be able to fully express yourself and be there for yourself and for your partner. I'd love to hear what you think. I love you, and till next time, bye.